We're going to go through the Chapter 3 test, and I'm going to give you another chance to do it. So if you're not happy with your Chapter 3 test score, I want you to look at this video and go back and redo your test, okay? So here we have number one, and we're doing activity-based costing. So let me walk you through this. What we want, we already have the direct material and we already have the direct labor. So all we need to figure out at this point is overhead. Our trifecta of costs, of course, is direct labor, direct materials, and overhead. So our cost drivers are these three: the assembly, the processing, and the inspection. So we're going to figure out what our cost is per activity, and then we're going to multiply it by how many activities we have. So our first one is assembly. So our assembly is $974,440 as our estimated cost, and we expect to have 68,000 of those. So our expected cost per activity is $14.33. I'm going to go ahead and write that down. And then per year, we anticipate having 710 of those machine hours. So I'm going to multiply that by 710. So our anticipated cost for that is $10,174 for this D28K material. I don't know what it is. Our next activity driver is processing orders. So that's cost is $95,300. We anticipate 2,000 orders. So per order, it's going to cost us $47.65. For this particular item, we anticipate 42 orders. So our total cost for those orders would be $2,001.30. So I'm going to go ahead and write that down too, because I'm going to have to add all these together eventually. And then for inspections, we anticipate $133,000. And we're going to have 1,900 inspections. So per inspection, it's going to cost us $70. And we're going to have 12 inspection hours per year. So I'm going to multiply that by 12. So $840. Now I'm going to add all these costs together. So I have 840 plus the 2001 for the processing orders, plus the 10,174.30 for the assembly. So my total cost for this D28K material specifically is going to be $13,015.60 in overhead. We anticipate making 450 units of this D28K. So per unit, I'm just going to divide by 450. For overhead, I'm going to have $28.92-ish in overhead. I'm going to now add my direct material cost of $35.79. I'm also going to add my direct labor cost of $29.53. So the answer, of course, is going to be A, $94.24. Okay, so for number two, very similar. We have a company that makes two products, product A and product B. The annual production and sales of product A, they're making 2,200 units, and product B, they're making 1,250 units. So three activity drivers or cost pools with the estimated cost and activities. So three activities, it doesn't say what they are. I think it would be quite helpful if they did, but we're just gonna pretend, I guess. So for activity one, I don't know, let's say it's stirring. So we are stirring stuff. And so the cost of that is $66,033. So for product A, we're going to have 1,700 stirs. And for product B, we're going to have 1,600 stirs. Activity two, let's say that's, gosh, what would we do after stirs? Let's say that we're, I don't know, sifting. I'm totally making this up. So that cost is going to be $88,929. Product A, we're going to have 2,700 sifts, and product B, we're going to have 1,400 sifts. And for activity three, gosh, let's say that's molding. We're going to have 102,000 is what, $486. So that's what we anticipate is going to be the total molding cost. So product A is 888 molds, and product B is 860 molds. So let's go ahead and find out what our overhead cost per unit is going to be. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is bring up my calculator, which is a must for activity-based costing, is I'm going to find the cost per unit for activity one. So I think the first thing it was mixing. So our total mixes we're going to have is 3,300 between product A and product B. So I'm going to take the total cost, $66,033, and I'm going to divide that by 3,300. So per mix, for activity 1, it's going to be $20.01. Okay, I'm just writing that down. For 2, I think I said that was sifting. I'm going to take 88,929 and divide it by 4,100. So per sift, it's going to cost me $21.69. And for molding, 102,486 divided by 1740, it's going to be 58.90. So I have now how much it's going to be per activity. So if I wanted to find out the overhead cost per unit of A, I have how much it's going to be now per activity. I can just figure out what each of these is going to cost me. So if activity A, my mixing, I think I said, is going to cost me $20.01, and I have 1,700 of them, I'm just going to take 1,700 times 20.01. So for activity A, that's going to cost me $34,017. And for product B, I'm going to have 2,700 of them, and they cost me $21.69. So that total cost is going to be $58,563. And then I have 880, and the total cost was $58.90. So that's going to be $51,832. Okay. So let's go ahead and add these all together. 34.17 plus 3 plus 51,832. All right, so that's my total cost. 144,412. Now, how many of product A are we making? We are making 2,200. So let's just go ahead and divide it by 2,200. So my total cost per unit is going to be $65.64-ish. Okay, so there you go. That's problem 2. Okay, so this is very similar again, but we don't have to calculate our rates. It gives it to us. So we want to know the total overhead cost of VO9X. So let's look at VO9X. So we're going to have 71 batches, and per batch it costs $80.75. So 80.75 times 71. So per batch it's going to be $57.33.25. I'm going to write that down. And then customer orders, it costs $72.37 per customer order, and for the VO9X we're going to have 22 of those. So that cost is going to be $15.92.14. And we're going to have assembly hours that cost us $7.91 times $4.94. So $39.07.54. Okay, so let's go ahead and add these all up. So I'm going to go 57.33.25 plus 15.92.14 plus 39.07.54. Okay, so 11.232.93. So that's number 3. Okay, so for 4, what I'm doing here is I'm going, again, they give us the estimated cost and then the total number. So I'm going to figure out for activity 1 what my cost per activity is. And again, let's just use, just for fun, let's use mixing, sifting, and molding. So we're going to use the same thing. So for mixing, my total cost is $21,983, and I had 1,300 total mixes. So my cost per mix is $16.91. Again, writing this down. For sifting, my total cost was $40,299, and I had a total of 2,100 sifts. So my cost per sift is $19.19. For activity 3, which was molding, 53,486 was my total cost, and I had only 940 molds, so $56.90. Okay. So we want to know the total overhead cost per unit of product A. So product A is per unit. So actually, what we can do is we can take a look at what we've just calculated, and I think it'll get us pretty close. Okay, so we anticipate making 1,200 of product A. So instead of, unfortunately, we can't just estimate, we've got to go ahead and go through the whole rigmarole of doing this. So product A, we're going to have 700 mixes. So 700, the cost per mix was $16.91. So 11,837. And we had 1,700 sifts times 1919, 32,623. And 480 molds times 5690. So 27,312. So I'm going to add all these together. Plus 32,623 plus 11,837. Okay, and we're making 1,200 of these divided by 1,200. So there is your cost per unit. Okay, so here, again, we have the total activities and then the total cost for activities. So for my machine costs, I have 262,440 for my total cost. And my total machine-related hours, I guess, is 10,800. So per machine hour, it's 2430. Total cost for batch setup is 270,300 divided by 10,200. So that's 2650. And 185,220 divided by 9,800. So that's 1890. Okay. So we have our per unit cost. Now, we want to know the total amount of overhead cost for product X. So X had 4,400 machine related, and our machine cost is 2430. Oops, I'm sorry, I just totally messed that up. So 4,400 times 2430. So 106,920. And 2650 times 8,800, 233,200, and 3,400 times 1890, 64,260. Okay, so again, let me add these up. 233,200 plus 106,920. So 404,380. Okay, I'm kind of running out of time with my allotted 15 minutes of free video time. So I just wanted to scroll down so you guys could see how the others are done. And actually, they're very similar to what we've been doing before. So the predetermined overhead rate here, that's how it's calculated for 6. And then for 7, here's how it's calculated for the predetermined overhead rate. 8, predetermined overhead rate, or excuse me, the activity rate. 9. And finally 10. So I'll let you take a look at all that. Okay, so please, again, go in, redo your test, and I will regrade it, okay? Thank you.